Imagine this: planting your garden once and reaping harvests year after year without the backbreaking work of starting over every season. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. Because today I'm going to show you 9 incredible perennial crops that will keep producing for you, season after season, with almost no effort. If you've ever dreamed of a garden that saves you time, saves you money, and keeps your family fed with fresh, nutritious food, this is the video you've been waiting for. And trust me, number 1 on this list is so unique, most gardeners don't even know it exists. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I help gardeners just like you grow smarter, not harder. On this channel, we simplify gardening so you get more harvest with less effort, all while enjoying the process. If you love the idea of turning your backyard into a food-producing paradise, you're in the right place. Before we dive into our countdown of perennial crops, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss gardening secrets that can transform your garden into a low-maintenance, high-yield oasis. Now, let's jump straight into the list, starting with number 9. Coming in at number 9, we have rhubarb, a hardy perennial that just keeps giving year after year. Why do gardeners love rhubarb so much? Once established, this plant can live for over a decade, producing those iconic, thick red stalks every spring. It's one of the earliest crops to pop up, which means fresh food while the rest of your garden is still waking up. Not to mention, rhubarb requires very little maintenance after the first year. Now, let's talk about planting basics. Rhubarb thrives in well-drained, fertile soil that's rich in organic matter. It loves full sun, though it can tolerate partial shade. When you plant it, give each crown plenty of space, about 3 feet apart, because this plant really spreads out as it matures. And remember, rhubarb is a long-term investment. Once you set it in the ground, it'll reward you for years. Caring for rhubarb is incredibly simple. Water it regularly during dry spells, and in the fall, mulch febbly around the crown to protect it through the winter. Avoid harvesting in the first year so the plant can establish itself. After that, you'll be rewarded with more stalks than you can use. When it comes to harvesting, always remember, only the stalks are edible. The leaves contain oxalic acid and should never be eaten. But the stalks? Perfect for pies, jams, sauces, and even savory dishes. The more you harvest, the more the plant produces throughout the season. So, what do you think? Would rhubarb earn a spot in your garden? Drop your answer in the comments below, because I'd love to see how many of you are excited to try this perennial powerhouse. Next on our list at number 8 are Jerusalem artichokes, also known as sunchokes. This is one of the most underrated perennial crops you can grow, and once you start, you'll understand why. Here's what makes them special. Jerusalem artichokes are incredibly resilient. These tubers can thrive in poor soil, tolerate drought, and still give you abundant harvests year after year. In fact, once they're in your garden, they'll come back every season without fail. And here's a fun fact. They're actually related to sunflowers, which means they grow tall and add beauty to your space while also producing food underground. Planting Jerusalem artichokes couldn't be easier. Simply plant the tubers directly into the soil about 3 to 5 inches deep and 12 to 18 inches apart. They love full sun and grow best in loose, well-drained soil, but they're not picky. These plants can reach up to 10 feet tall, so be sure to give them room to grow or plant them along the edges of your garden as a natural windbreak. As for care tips, honestly, these plants are almost too easy. Water them during dry spells, but otherwise they practically take care of themselves. In fact, the bigger challenge is keeping them under control, because once they're established, they'll spread vigorously. Some gardeners even call them the perennial that keeps on giving, sometimes a little too much. When harvest time comes in late fall, wait until after the first frost to dig them up. That's when the flavor turns sweet and nutty. You can roast them like potatoes, mash them, or even slice them raw into salads for a crisp crunch. And here's the best part. Any tubers you leave behind in the soil will simply regrow next year, giving you a built-in food supply without replanting. So let me ask you, would you grow Jerusalem artichokes, even if it meant they might take over a corner of your garden? Comment your answer below. I'm curious to see how adventurous you are. At number 7, we have chives, one of the easiest and most rewarding perennial herbs you can grow. Why chives? Because once you plant them, they'll return year after year, providing you with a steady supply of fresh, onion-flavored greens. Not only do they taste amazing in salads, soups, and egg dishes, but they also flower beautifully, attracting bees and pollinators to your garden. That means chives aren't just food for you, they help boost the productivity of your entire garden. For planting basics, chives prefer full sun but will tolerate partial shade. Plant them in rich, well-drained soil and space them about 8 inches apart. If you're short on garden space, don't worry. Chives thrive in pots and containers too, making them perfect for patios and windowsills. Caring for chives is effortless. Keep the soil slightly moist and trim them regularly to encourage fresh growth. Once they bloom, you can snip off the flowers to prevent reseeding or leave them on to attract beneficial insects. Either way, you'll always have a fresh supply of leaves at hand. Harvesting couldn't be simpler. Just snip off the leaves with scissors about 2 inches above the ground, and they'll keep regrowing all season long. Use them fresh, freeze them for later, or dry them for a homemade spice jar that lasts all year. Now here's a quick engagement question for you. Would you keep chives in your garden bed or grow them in a container for easy access right outside your kitchen? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd use this versatile herb. Coming in at number 6 is a bold and spicy perennial that's as tough as it gets. Horseradish. This root crop is famous for its strong flavor, but what many gardeners don't realize is just how low maintenance it is. Plant horseradish once, and it will keep coming back year after year, often spreading wider and stronger the longer it grows. It's the definition of a set-it-and-forget-it crop. When it comes to planting basics, horseradish thrives in full sun and loose, well-drained soil. It's usually grown from root cuttings. Just plant them at a slight angle, about 2 inches deep and a foot apart. Once it takes hold, horseradish is nearly indestructible. Caring for horseradish is minimal. Water during long dry spells, but otherwise it doesn't ask for much. In fact, your biggest challenge might be controlling it, since it can spread aggressively if left unchecked. A pro tip is to plant it in a dedicated bed or even a large container to keep it contained. When it's time to harvest, usually in late fall, you'll dig up the thick, spicy roots. Use them fresh for homemade horseradish sauce, grate them into pickles, or add a fiery kick to your favorite dishes. And here's the bonus. Any small root pieces you leave in the ground will regrow, ensuring next year's harvest is already taken care of. So let me ask you, would you add horseradish to your garden even if it meant keeping an eye on its spreading roots? Let me know your answer in the comments, because this perennial is both powerful and persistent. At number 5, we have a true garden classic, asparagus. If there's one perennial every serious gardener should grow, it's this one. Here's why. Once established, asparagus crowns can keep producing for 15 to 20 years. That means 2 decades of delicious tender spears, all from a single planting. It may take patience in the first year or two, but the payoff is unmatched. When it comes to planting basics, asparagus loves full sun and well-drained soil. It's best to start with 1-year-old crowns instead of seeds, because crowns establish faster. Dig a trench about 12 inches wide and 6 to 8 inches deep, place the crowns inside, and cover them with a few inches of soil. As the plants grow, keep filling in the trench until it's level with the ground. Space them about 18 inches apart because these plants spread out over time. Caring for asparagus is simple but important. Keep the bed weed-free, water during dry spells, and add compost or organic fertilizer each spring to keep the plant strong. Resist the temptation to harvest in the first year. Let the crowns build their strength. By the second or third year, you'll be rewarded with full harvests each spring. When it's harvest time, snap off the spears when they're about 6 to 8 inches tall. The best part? Asparagus is one of the earliest crops to appear in spring, making it a welcome fresh vegetable when little else is ready. So here's my question for you. Would you dedicate a permanent bed in your garden to asparagus, knowing it'll feed you for the next 20 years? Comment below. I want to know how many of you are ready to make that long-term investment. Next on the list at number 4 is sorrel, a leafy green that most gardeners overlook, but once you grow it, you'll wonder how you ever did without it. Sorrel is a perennial green with a bright, lemony flavor that adds a fresh twist to soups, sauces, salads, and even smoothies. Unlike annual greens, which need constant replanting, sorrel comes back every spring and produces a steady harvest throughout the season. Planting sorrel is straightforward. It thrives in full sun, but can tolerate partial shade, making it versatile for different garden spots. Planted in well-drained soil with plenty of compost, spacing plants about 12 to 18 inches apart. Once it's established, it will keep producing leaves for years. Caring for sorrel is almost effortless. Just keep it watered during hot, dry weather and trim it back if it starts to flower, which helps extend the leaf harvest. It's hardy, resilient, and rarely bothered by pests or diseases. Harvesting sorrel is simple. Pick the outer leaves when they're about 4 to 6 inches long, and the plant will keep sending up new growth. Use the leaves fresh for a tangy kick, or cook them down into sauces where their lemon-like flavor really shines. Here's a fun engagement question for you. Would you try sorrel in a salad or use it to make a refreshing soup? Share your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd enjoy this underrated perennial green. At number 3, we've got the impressive and delicious globe artichoke, a perennial that not only feeds you, but also turns your garden into a showpiece.
Why is the globe artichoke such a standout? For one, it's visually stunning. Tall stalks, silvery leaves, and big sculptural flower buds that are completely edible. Once you plant it, an artichoke can keep producing for 5 years or more, rewarding you with high yields and gorgeous plants that doubles ornamentals. For planting basics, globe artichokes love full sun and rich, well-drained soil. Plant them about 3 feet apart because these plants grow large and need room to spread. In cooler climates, start them indoors and transplant them after frost danger has passed. In warmer regions, they thrive directly in the garden. Caring for artichokes means giving them consistent water, especially during dry periods, and adding compost each year to keep the soil fertile. They'll send up multiple flower buds in their second year and beyond, and with proper care, you can harvest dozens of artichokes from a single plant each season. When it's time to harvest, cut the buds while they're still tight and compact. That's when they're the most tender and flavorful. If you let them flower, you'll get massive purple blooms that attract pollinators. But harvesting earlier gives you those classic artichokes for steaming, roasting, or stuffing. So let me ask you, would you grow artichokes mainly for their tasty buds? Or would you leave some to bloom and decorate your garden with those incredible flowers? Comment below. I'm curious how you'd use this dual-purpose plant. Coming in at number 2 are blueberries, a perennial fruit bush that gives you sweet, nutritious harvests year after year. Blueberries aren't just delicious, they're also incredibly healthy, packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and fiber. Once established, a single bush can produce for decades, and with the right care, you'll be picking bowl after bowl of berries every summer. Planting basics are key for blueberries. They thrive in acidic soil with a pH between 4.5 and 5.5, so you may need to amend your soil with peat moss or pine needles. They love full sun, though they can tolerate partial shade, and should be spaced about 4 to 5 feet apart. Plant at least 2 different varieties for cross-pollination. This ensures bigger harvests and sweeter berries. When it comes to care, blueberries need consistent watering, especially during fruiting. Mulch heavily with pine bark or wood chips to conserve moisture and keep weeds down. Prune them in late winter to remove old wood and encourage new growth. This helps keep the bushes productive for many years. Harvest time is one of the best parts of growing blueberries. Once the berries turn deep blue and come off easily in your hand, they're ready to eat. Use them fresh, freeze them for smoothies, or turn them into jams and pies. And here's the bonus. As the bushes mature, your harvests get bigger every year. So here's a quick engagement question. Would you plant blueberries mainly for fresh snacking or to stock up your freezer for year-round use?
Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd enjoy this garden favorite. And finally, at number 1, we have one of the most fascinating perennial crops you can grow: walking onions, also called Egyptian onions. What makes these onions so unique? Unlike regular onions, walking onions literally replant themselves. At the top of their stalks, they form clusters of small bulbs known as top sets. As these top sets get heavy, the stalk bends down to the ground and the bulbs root themselves, essentially walking across your garden season after season. Planting walking onions is easy. Simply start with a few bulbs, place them about 6 inches apart in well-drained soil, and give them full sun. Once they take root, they'll multiply and spread naturally, giving you an endless supply without much effort. When it comes to care, these onions are nearly bulletproof. They tolerate cold winters, require little water, and resist most pests and diseases. Once they're in the ground, they'll come back stronger every year. Harvesting walking onions is flexible. You can snip the green tops like chives for cooking, pull the underground bulbs for a stronger onion flavor, or collect the top set bulbs to replant or eat. Every part of the plant is edible, making it one of the most efficient perennials you can grow. So here's my final question for you. Would you grow walking onions for their unique self-planting ability, or simply for their endless harvest? Drop your answer in the comments, because this is one perennial that truly lives up to the phrase, plant once, harvest forever.
Let's do a quick recap of our list of 9 perennial crops you only need to plant once. Rhubarb, hardy and long-lived. Jerusalem artichokes, resilient and productive. Chives, tasty and pollinator-friendly. Horseradish, bold and persistent. Asparagus, a classic crop with decades of harvest. Sorrel, a zesty, underrated leafy green. Globe artichoke, stunning and delicious. Blueberries, sweet, antioxidant-rich bushes. And number 1, walking onions, the self-planting perennial wonder. Together, these crops give you a garden that keeps producing food, saves time, saves money, and creates a sustainable food source for years to come. Plant them once, and your harvests will keep rolling in. If you enjoyed this video and want to grow smarter, not harder, make sure you hit subscribe and tap that bell so you never miss more gardening secrets like these. If you're excited to try these perennials, hit the like button and share this video with a friend who needs to know about low-maintenance gardening. Remember, gardening doesn't have to be a constant cycle of replanting and reworking. With perennials, you plant once and harvest forever. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.